Hey, what's going on YouTube? I know a couple of you have a couple of questions about how I got this car, where I bought it, how much it was, and like what I had to do to get it. So let's talk about it. So I am 22 years old to preface this, but I was 21 when I purchased this vehicle. I just graduated with my 4-year bachelor degree from college, early, matter of fact, and it was around February, I believe, and I stumbled across this car on Facebook Marketplace, believe it or not. It was going for $26,000, and I was like, this is crazy cheap. Like, I was wondering why, because at the time I didn't know really any better. So I messaged the guy, just because I was bored, I don't know, and I said, would you take $19,000 for it? He was like, oh, no, like, absolutely not. That is like way too low. So I was like, okay, I think a couple days later, I was just like, you know what, can I just like come see it? I'm really interested in it and blah, blah, blah. So he's like, sure, come on by, and we set that up. So my boyfriend and I, we went to go get tattoos like for the weekend. And then the next day we had to go all the way from Western New York all the way to Farmington, Connecticut to go see this car. So we drove for so long that day because we had to come home, pick up my dad, and then go see the car because he wouldn't let me buy the car if he didn't see it for himself, because he helped me get the car, but we'll get there. We got to this guy's house where he kept the car. We were wondering like, oh, why are you selling it? Because like we didn't know if it was like his personal Skyline or what the fuck. So he said, I do this for a living. And I'm like, what do you mean? He was like, we buy import vehicles that go off to auction in Japan, bring them over here, modify them a little bit, and then sell them. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So, this guy, has experience with this. So I was like, very interesting. So he started it right up for us. We went for a test drive, fell in love with the car, of course. I'll throw in actually a few clips of when we went and saw it. So flashback. Adjust that shit at all. So after that, I knew like I really wanted this thing. I didn't even, get a pre-approval from the bank. I didn't care at the time. So I wanted the guy to come down to $23,000. But if I said $23,000 to the guy to make my offer, he would have probably counter-offered it and made it higher. So I said, listen, I will offer you $22,000. That's my offer. And he called up his business partner, whoever had the dealership that buys the cars and blah, blah, blah. And he came back to me. He was like, listen, I'll do $23,000. And I was like, sold, because that's what I wanted, right? So I gave him, a Venmo down payment that day. We wrote on a little piece of paper, like our own contract saying, she gave me a down payment. This is hers. That's it. I took a picture of his license. It was all legit. He took a picture of mine. So the next process was I had to get a bank loan for the car. Took all the information I needed, like the chassis number and all this stuff, right? I started filling out a car loan. So when it came to the make and model, it didn't even come up, right? So when I filled it out and submitted it, the bank called me and was like, we don't know what this is. Like, we know what it is, but we don't know how to appraise it. Like, we don't understand the value of the vehicle because it doesn't have a VIN number, like a United States VIN number to look up on like Carfax or Kelley Blue Book and things to like understand the value of this vehicle. So they're like, we need to get you to send an appraiser out there to get a value of the car. And I was like, this is bullshit, right? Was like, okay. Tried to figure that out, right? But then the bank only approved me for like $12,000 or something like that. And I was like, I need more, right? So luckily, with a little bit of persuasion, my dad helped me co-sign for the vehicle. He's not financially tied at all. He just co-signed so I could get the full amount. So that took a couple of weeks of pleading with him to do that. But once we did, my dad called the bank and said, listen, switch this over to a personal loan, because when you have a personal loan, they can't ask you information like that, like what you're using the money for, but it's going towards this vehicle. So after all that was approved, we both signed, you know, agreements and blah, blah, blah. And they sent us the check, which was awesome. It was pickup day. My friend had a covered trailer. We went to go pick it up, gave him the check, whatever. We brought it home. He gave me a bunch of documentation. So if you go to the DMV to register your import vehicle, it doesn't even have to be a Skyline. It can be literally anything that's like an import from Japan, Europe, whatever. So we had, just to be safe, right? It doesn't mean that you have to do these things, but like, I'm not gonna mess this process up, right? So when I go to the New York State DMV, I brought them the New York State bill of sale, the Massachusetts bill of sale, which is where it was from, or like, I know it's from Connecticut, but like the car was from Massachusetts or registered from there. We had the US title that came with it, because that's another beneficial thing going through this guy, because he had a United States title and registered it to Massachusetts. So it was already in their system, right? Both bill of sales, we have the US title or the Massachusetts title, and we have like the registration paperwork for New York State. So when I went to the DMV, the only issue that I had is she's like, I don't really know what this is, right? I understand that. So what I did was she asked me to print out like the VIN number, the chassis number on a piece of paper to verify that that's what it is. So I went to their office next door and I was like, listen, can you print out this picture for me? Thank you so much. So I gave them that documentation and she wrote on the title like special condition or whatever. So after that, it was good to go. She gave me a plate, she gave me everything, and I was like, oh my God, this is happening. So that's, you know, ultimately how I got the car and registered it to my state. So if you followed along, thank God you did, because I talk a lot. So pretty much that's it. So let me just repeat, you know, the steps that you need to take if you're trying to get an import yourself. So you want a personal loan. You want the documentation that's needed. So both bill of sales, the New York State paperwork, make sure the seller signs it, bring it with you, right? Get the title, you should be good there, and insurance. The insurance is the only thing that I didn't talk about. Now, I haven't been driving for 10 years yet. So there's some insurance companies that wouldn't allow me to get a plan with them. So I personally used Hagerty Insurance. They deal with like cars like this, like Skylines and all these import vehicles. So if you, someone like me that's 22 years old and you want to get into this stuff, go to Hagerty. I know some other insurances might take you, but this was the easiest way. I pay $135 a month for this car. For insurance, I paid, you know, $23,000 for the car, and I pay $600 a month for it. It should be paid off within the next 2 years or so, which is great. So, you know, we're living life here in a Skyline. I mean, you can do it too. So I know it's really scary. Just make sure you pre-approval yourself or line up the financials beforehand so you don't fall in love with the car like I did and then you don't have a way to pay for it. So if you have those couple things, you should be good to go. Hopefully that helps you. If you want to import your own vehicle from Japan to here, I can't really help you with that because that's not my situation. But if this inspires you to get an import vehicle, hopefully you do. See you guys next time. Peace.